from your perspective as a history major and being in the military, tell us about the Christmas truce of World War I.
All right, so the Christmas truce of World War I is a big story in the military. You find it a lot in VFW magazines, Legion magazines, and stuff like that. I believe it was the year 1914, so it was early in the World War I. Troops were fighting trench warfare, and right around Christmas Eve or a few days before, they had started raising, not really white flags on each side, but they had almost like a Christmas celebration where they would meet in no man's land in the center of these trenches. And it was not something that the higher-ups, the officers, wanted to see because it was like a loss of control and it's an enemy on the other side. But the men in the trenches actually wanted to experience a peaceful Christmas. And because the officers would not sign a truce or a ceasefire at the time, the soldiers at the low end took it upon themselves to basically share a Christmas Eve and a Christmas Day with no firing on each other in certain sectors of the trench line. So it's pretty unique. It doesn't really happen in war. And that's basically it. They shared their culture, and they sang songs, and they shared German chocolate cake back and forth, and all different types of products from their own culture.
And now we see something along those lines happened in December of 1944, and is in our historical record as well, on the Belgian-German line. Tell us about that.
Yeah, so late in 44, we had one of the biggest battles of the war. So it was the Battle of the Bulge, which everybody might remember. The 101st was there. There was a Band of Brothers movie and storyline made after it, but very similar circumstances. What was unique about that time frame was there was actually soldiers that allegedly, and it's supposed to be a true story, from the American and German lines both, that had been lost. It was heavy snow. It was a horrible winter. They got separated from their lines, and they had stumbled upon this house kind of in the wood line. And it was a German family that owned it. And she took in the Americans, 3 or 4 or 5 of them, and had offered them medical aid, food, and basically made up a Christmas Eve dinner for those guys, or a Christmas Day dinner. And then shortly thereafter, German troops that had been separated from their lines had stumbled onto the same house, and she opened the door to them as well and basically told them, hey, no weapons, no killing each other this night, it's Christmas. And they come in and had a peaceful dinner together, and the next day when they separated, they helped each other get back to their lines, and that was kind of the end of the story right there.
Not part of this, but what's the movie?
There was a movie. It's something like that based off of that. Yeah.
I watched it.
Yeah, it's supposed to be a true story because guys on each side had told it, and it was written in the books and came together.
You think something like that could happen today if we were in a world war? Why or why not?
Kind of here's where I'm at on it. And, you can look at it from a political standpoint or you can look at it from a religious standpoint. And I think the only reason that actually happened in the Western Front was because we all have roots to Europe. We share similar religion, similar beliefs. It would have never happened in the Pacific, when we were fighting the Japanese. It would never happen if we fought against China or India or any Middle Eastern country. So quite possibly, if we were ever to engage, and it should never happen, against a European ally that's no longer an ally, it's possible that we could share our customs back and forth and have a ceasefire on days like that. Like, Easter would be a common one, Christmas would be common. But I highly doubt anything like that could ever happen in the current state that we're in with the current enemy that we have.
How have the wars fought after World War II differed from World War II?
You could probably go on all day about that, Really, I don't think there was much of a change up until after Korea, because in Korea we still had mass armies, we had large-scale battles, we had trench warfare taking place. It wasn't just trench warfare, it was in the cities. Whole cities were being leveled by bombardments and artillery shells. And now, we kind of transitioned into this, it's more like war is short period skirmishes. Vietnam was the same way. We went from these large divisions down to companies and platoon-sized elements meeting each other with guerrilla tactics in heavily wooded areas, sometimes in small cities or villages. And then we progress all the way through Panama, and we find ourselves in Grenada, and these are short skirmishes. They're not really wars. And then we end up in the Gulf War, and it was 2 standing conventional armies, but we didn't dig trenches. They weren't mass scale. It was small skirmishes that were taking place in these little tiny battles, and the same thing is going on today. And I don't see us ever ending up in a position like that again. where we would have trench warfare. So we have different logistical means, we have different technological capabilities that never existed back in the day, where we can do precision strikes now. So we don't really need to have big units meet each other on a field anymore.
There's another, you can go on for years on this.
Yeah.
How has the military changed since the World War II era?
Yeah, like you said, you could literally go on forever about it. We've kept a lot of the same customs. Some of the similar jobs still exist. The military still works in a similar manner. You recruit troops, you take them in, you train them for a specific job, and then they gain rank and they progress. But it's changed mostly because of the technological aspects and the way that we conduct war now and the way that we fight wars. So, back in the day, we didn't have, in World War II, we didn't really have rockets. We didn't have jets. We didn't have we had large-scale bombers, but not the capabilities that they could carry on them. We have night vision now. We have all these different technological advancements that have taken place and medical advancements. So wars in the military itself has adapted, to fight with the capabilities that we have. So now we have all these changes. We would much more prefer to fight at night, because we're 20 years ahead of our most common enemy right now in our technology. So it's the basic changes in that technological aspect.